Today we're going to expand on the sketchpad activity that you did in class and just kind of solidify the couple of properties that you were supposed to get. There are 4 different types or pairs of angles that we're going to talk about today. The first one is a linear pair. Focus on that word line. A linear pair means they are 2 angles that form a line. And as I said, you saw an example of that in your sketchpad activity today. So one example in this particular diagram that it's a numerical pair is angle 1 and angle 2. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. I want you to go down and write down the other. There should be 3 more pairs of linear pair angles. Okay, that would be angle 2 and angle 3 and angle 4, and finally angle 1 and angle 4. All right, now let's go take a look at a numerical example. So if we were given the measure of angle 2 is equal to 2x, and the measure of angle 3 is equal to 4x plus 40. And actually, I'm going to flip these so it makes more sense. So again, we have this is 4x plus 40. This is 2x. We know if they form a linear pair, they form that line, and the measure of a straight angle or a straight line is 180 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and set up an equation. 2x plus 4x plus 40 equals 180. I'm going to combine my x's, and at the same time I can subtract that 40. And then finally we can go ahead and do some division. And we end up with 22.3 repeating. And then let's go ahead and find each of the measures of those angles. So the measure of angle 3 is going to be equal to 2 times that, which would be 44.6 repeating. The measure of angle 2 is 4 times that plus 4. I'm going to grab my calculator. Okay, looks like we got a mistake. It's 23.3 repeating, which means this is a 46. Okay, so 4 times 23.3 repeating plus the 40, and we end up with the other angle is 133.3 repeating. Okay, moving on to the next pair of angles. The next pair of angles are vertical angles. These angles are often described as angles across from each other. Technically, they are angles with sides that are opposite rays. So for example, one pair of vertical angles are angle 1 and angle 3. Give you 10 seconds. What is the other pair of vertical angles in the picture? That's angle 2 and angle 4. And let's give you that numerical example. So for example, if I know the measure of angle 1 is equal to 60 degrees, that means in turn, I know the measure of angle 3 is equal to 60 degrees. And if this is 60 degrees, then I know these two form a linear pair. So that means the measure of angle 2 would equal 120. And in turn, that means the measure of angle 4 is also equal to 120. Okay, let's go take a look at an algebraic example. If I've been given the measure of angle 1 equals 8x, and the measure of angle 2 is equal to 4x plus 32. This is angle 3. So again, those angles are vertical, which means that we know the measures are equal. So we're going to set those equal and solve for x. Get 4x is 32. Eventually x is equal to 8. And again, if we want to go and find the measures of each of those angles, they should be the same when you plug it in. So when you plug in 8 here, or you plug in 8 here and add 32, either case you end up with 64 degrees. Okay, complementary angles. First of all, they are adjacent. Adjacent means they are side by side, or adjacent means they have a common side, which would be here. So these are adjacent angles whose sum is 60 degrees. So let's suppose we've been given the measure of angle 1 is equal to 72 degrees, and it says find the measure of angle 2. So many of you are going to do 90 minus 72. Let me just show you how it would look algebraically. We could do x plus 72 equals 180. We subtract that 72 and we end up with x is 108 degrees. Let's try these equal. And I said 90, and over here I wrote 60. Let's go back and fix it, go back and fix it. Let's try x is equal to 18. That makes a little bit more sense. Okay, let's come over here. Let's suppose we were given the measure of angle 1 is equal to x squared. The measure of angle 2 is equal to okay, let's change this. The measure of angle 1 is 5x squared. The measure of angle 2 is x squared. Again, we're going to go set up an algebraic equation. So we have 5x squared plus 1x squared equals 90. Going back to a little bit of algebra 1. We add those together. We divide by 6. And then eventually we go and take the square root, and we end up with x's radical 15. And again, let's go find the measures of each angles. Let's go and plug in here. So this one be radical 15 squared. So that squared and square root undo each other, and we get 15 here. Let's go up here. We have 5 times radical 15 squared. Again, the squared and square root undo each other. 5 times 15 is equal to 75. And notice I can check this when I add these two angles together. I get 90 degrees. All right, let's look at the last one. Supplementary angles. These again are adjacent angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So again, let's look at a numerical example. If we have the measure of angle 1 is equal to 130 degrees, and it says find the measure of angle 2. So again, we could do 130 plus x equals 180. We're going to solve, and eventually we get x to be 50 degrees. Okay, let's take a look at an algebraic one. So again, we have the measure of angle 1, we have the measure of angle 2, and we know that their angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So we've got 5x plus 22 plus 4 times x minus 1, and we get 180 degrees. So first thing, we have to go back and distribute. then we need to go ahead and solve that equation. So I'm going to combine the like terms. That gives me 9x plus 18 equals 180. Let me give you about 10 seconds to go ahead and solve that. We get 9x equals 162, and eventually we get x to equal 18. And again, let's go plug in so we can find the measures of the angles. So we have 5 times 18 plus 22, and we get 112. Then we're going to plug in 18 times here, so 4 times 17, and we end up with 68 degrees. And notice again, when I add those together, you get 180 degrees. Okay, once you're done, there should be a quick 5-question Canvas piece.